I never believed in fate until the night I saw her across that crowded restaurant. She had her brother's eyes, the same eyes that haunted my nightmares for 5 years. The same eyes I watched close forever on that rainy night in the warehouse. And now, I was falling in love with her. God help me, I was falling in love with the sister of the man I murdered. My name is Dante Moretti, and I run the East Side territory for the Moretti crime family. People fear my name. They cross the street when they see my car. But none of them know the truth, that every night I see Marco Castellano's face in my dreams, begging for mercy I never gave. It was supposed to be simple. Marco had stolen from us $500,000. My father gave the order, and I executed it. Literally. I was 26, eager to prove myself, too young to understand that some sins don't wash away with time. 5 years later, I'd built an empire on that bloody foundation. Nightclubs, restaurants, real estate, all legitimate fronts for the family business. I told myself I'd changed. I told myself I'd become better. But the past has a way of finding you, doesn't it? It was a Friday night at Velvet, my upscale Italian restaurant in Manhattan. I was reviewing the books in my private booth when she walked in. Time seemed to stop. She wore a simple black dress, her dark hair falling in waves over her shoulders. But it was her eyes, those deep brown eyes, that made my blood run cold. I knew those eyes. Mr. Moretti? My manager, Paolo, approached nervously. The young lady at table 7, she asked to speak with you. Says it's about a job. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was reading a menu, oblivious to my staring. She had to be about 23 now. The last time I'd seen her, from a distance, at her brother's funeral, she'd been just 18, destroyed by grief. What position? I asked, my voice rougher than intended. Hostess. She seems nice, boss. Real nice. Nice. The sister of a man I killed wanted to work for me. What were the odds? I should have said no. I should have had Paolo politely decline and never look back. Instead, I heard myself say, send her to my office in 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt like an eternity. I paced my office, weighing my options. She couldn't know who I was. Marco had worked for the Baldini family, our rivals. He'd stolen money from them and tried to pin it on us. My father ordered his death to prevent a war. She wouldn't know the Moretti family's involvement. The Baldinis had taken public credit for the execution, a message to their other soldiers. But what if she somehow found out? When she knocked, I'd almost convinced myself this was fine. Just another employee. Nothing more. Come in, I called. She entered with a nervous smile that hit me like a bullet to the chest. Up close, she was devastatingly beautiful, but it was her innocence that struck me most. There was a lightness in her eyes despite what she'd been through, a hope that life could still be good. A hope I'd stolen from her once before. Mr. Moretti, thank you for seeing me, she said, extending her hand. I'm Isabella Castellano. I shook her hand, feeling like Judas taking his 30 pieces of silver. Please, sit. Tell me about yourself, Isabella. She settled into the chair, folding her hands in her lap. I just graduated from NYU with a degree in hospitality management. I know I don't have much experience, but I'm a hard worker. I've been working 2 part-time jobs to pay off my student loans, and I've heard wonderful things about Velvet. Castellano, I said carefully. Italian? Yes. My parents immigrated here in the 90s. They passed away a few years ago, car accident. She said it matter-of-factly, but I saw the pain flicker across her face. I knew about the car accident. I'd had my people look into Marco's family after his death, making sure there would be no retaliation. Both parents gone within 6 months of losing their son. It had nearly destroyed Isabella. She'd been left alone at 18 with nothing but debt and grief. Because of me. I'm sorry for your loss, I said, and I meant it more than she could ever know. Thank you. It's been hard, but I'm rebuilding my life now. This job would mean a lot to me, Mr. Moretti. I promise you won't regret hiring me. I should have ended it there. Made up an excuse. Told her we'd call her. Instead, I heard myself say, the job is yours. You start Monday. Her face lit up like sunrise. Really? Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. As she left my office, practically floating with happiness, I poured myself a drink with shaking hands. What was I doing? This was dangerous. Reckless. Insane. But I couldn't let her walk away. Not yet. Isabella was perfect at her job. She had a warmth that made customers feel like family, a grace that elevated the entire restaurant. She arrived early, stayed late, and treated everyone, from the dishwashers to the wealthiest patrons, with genuine kindness. And I was falling for her more every single day. I found excuses to be at the restaurant during her shifts. I'd watch her from my booth, pretending to work while really just observing the way she moved, the way she laughed at customers' jokes, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating. Boss, you've been staring at her for 20 minutes, my right-hand man, Luca, said one evening, sliding into the booth across from me. I'm observing the staff, I said defensively. You're playing with fire. Luca leaned forward. Does she know who you are? What you did? She has no idea. And she never will. Dante, this is a mistake. You know the rules. Never get involved with civilians. Especially not the sister of a man I killed. I know, Luca. Trust me, I know. But knowing didn't stop me from offering to drive her home when her shift ended late. It didn't stop me from having flowers delivered to her apartment from a secret admirer. It didn't stop me from making sure her student loan debt mysteriously disappeared, paid off by an anonymous benefactor. Isabella was smart, though. She noticed. Mr. Moretti, can I talk to you? Isabella appeared at my booth one evening, wringing her hands nervously. Of course. And please, call me Dante. She sat down, looking uncomfortable. Dante, I need to know, the flowers, my loans being paid off, was that you? I could have lied. Should have lied. Instead, I said, yes. Why? Her eyes searched mine. I'm just your hostess. Why would you do all that? Because I owe you everything. Because I took your brother from you. Because I'm falling in love with you and it's killing me. Because you deserve kindness, Isabella. You work hard, you're genuine, and you've been through hell. Let me do something nice for you. I can't accept charity, Mr. Moretti, Dante. I need to earn my way. Then let me take you to dinner. One date. If you hate it, I'll never mention it again, and we'll keep things strictly professional. She bit her lip, considering. One date. One date. She smiled, and it felt like absolution I didn't deserve. Okay. One date. That first date was at a small Italian place in Brooklyn, far from the Manhattan scene where we might be recognized. We talked for hours, about her dreams of opening her own restaurant someday, about her parents and her childhood, about everything except her brother. I steered the conversation away from Marco like a ship avoiding an iceberg. What about you? She asked, sipping wine. What's your story, Dante Moretti? How does someone so young run such a successful empire? Family business, I said carefully. My father built it. I'm just trying to live up to his legacy. Do you have siblings? 2 younger sisters. They're both away at college, thank God. Away from all this. All what? I met her eyes. The business can be complicated. I try to keep them out of it. She reached across the table and took my hand. The touch sent electricity through me. You're a good brother, Dante. I can tell. If only she knew what kind of brother I really was. What I'd done to hers. 1 date became 2. 2 became 10. Within months, Isabella and I were inseparable. She moved into my penthouse, bringing light into spaces that had only known darkness. She made me laugh. She made me want to be better. She made me forget, for precious moments, what I'd done. But the guilt was always there, lurking like a shadow. When she cried in her sleep, calling out for her brother, I held her and died inside. When she talked about someday finding out what really happened to Marco, I'd kiss her quiet and change the subject. The police said it was gang violence, she told me one night, curled against my chest. But Marco wasn't in a gang. He was a good person, Dante. He worked in accounting. They got it wrong. My heart hammered. Sometimes things aren't what they seem, baby. I just wish I knew the truth. I wish I could give him justice. Justice. The word hung between us like a knife. Maybe some truths are better left buried, I whispered. She looked up at me, confused. How can you say that? Truth is the only thing that matters. Without truth, we're just living lies. I kissed her forehead, unable to meet her eyes. You're right. I'm sorry. But I wasn't sorry. I was terrified. Luca warned me repeatedly. This is going to blow up, Dante. End it now before someone gets hurt. I can't, I admitted. I love her, Luca. I'm in love with her. Then you're a fool. Love built on lies always crumbles. He was right, of course. But I was too far gone to care. 6 months into our relationship, I did the most selfish thing of my life. I proposed. It was at the restaurant, after hours. I'd filled the entire place with candles and roses. When I got down on one knee, Isabella's eyes filled with tears. Dante Moretti, are you serious? I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Isabella Castellano, you brought me back to life. You made me believe I could be more than my worst mistakes. Marry me. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life making you happy. What I didn't say, let me spend the rest of my life trying to atone for what I took from you. Yes, she cried, throwing her arms around me. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. As I slid the ring onto her finger, I felt like I was sealing both our fates. This was wrong. I knew it was wrong. But I was too selfish to stop. We set a date for 3 months away. Isabella threw herself into wedding planning with the same joy she brought to everything. She wanted something simple, intimate, just close friends and family. I wish my brother could walk me down the aisle, she said one evening, looking at wedding magazines. Marco would have loved you, Dante. You two would have been great friends. I excused myself and threw up in the bathroom. The nightmares got worse. I'd see Marco's face every time I closed my eyes, hear his final words. Please, I have a sister. She's all alone. Please. I'd wake up sweating, and Isabella would hold me, thinking I was stressed about business. If only stress was all I had to worry about. The truth came out 2 weeks before our wedding, and it came in the form of an old photograph. Isabella was cleaning out the penthouse, preparing for our married life, when she found a box in the back of my closet. I'd forgotten it was there, photos from the old days, before I tried to go legitimate. She called me at the restaurant, her voice strange. Dante, can you come home? There's something I need to show you. My blood ran cold. What is it, baby? Just come home. Please. I drove faster than I ever had, my mind racing through possibilities. When I burst through the door, Isabella was sitting on the couch, the box open in front of her. In her hands was a photograph, one I'd forgotten existed. It was from Marco's funeral. I'd been there, watching from a distance, making sure the Baldinis hadn't sent anyone to investigate further. Someone had taken a photo of the whole scene. And I was in the background, clear as day. Explain this, Isabella said, her voice eerily calm. Why were you at my brother's funeral 5 years ago? Why were you there when you claimed we met for the first time 6 months ago? I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. She stood up, and I saw something break in her eyes. Who are you, Dante? Really? Isabella. Don't. She held up her hand. Don't lie to me anymore. I deserve the truth. All of it. So I told her. Everything. How her brother had stolen from the Baldini family. How he tried to frame the Morettis. How my father gave the order to eliminate the threat. How I pulled the trigger. With every word, I watched her die inside. You? She whispered when I finished. You killed Marco? Isabella, you have to understand, it was business. I didn't have a choice. I was following orders. I was young and stupid and... You killed my brother. The scream tore out of her, raw and agonizing. She picked up a vase and threw it. I didn't move as it shattered against the wall behind me. He was all I had. He raised me after our parents died. He was my everything. I know, I said, tears streaming down my face. I know, and I'm sorry. God, Isabella, I'm so sorry. You're sorry? She laughed bitterly. You're sorry? You murdered him, and then you seduced me. You made me fall in love with you. Was this all some sick game? Some way to torture me? No. Isabella, no. I love you. I fell in love with you, and that was never part of any plan. That was real. This is real. Nothing about you is real. She ripped the engagement ring off and threw it at me. You're a murderer. A liar. A monster. Each word was a knife in my heart, but I deserved every one. Please, I begged. Please let me explain. Explain what? That you killed my brother in cold blood? That you watched me grieve and said nothing? That you let me fall in love with you knowing what you'd done? She grabbed her purse, heading for the door. I never want to see you again, Dante Moretti. If I do, I swear to God, I'll kill you myself. She slammed the door behind her, and the sound echoed like a gunshot. I fell to my knees among the shattered glass and broken dreams, finally paying the price for my sins. 2 years later, I sold everything. The restaurants, the clubs, all of it. I used the money to set up a foundation in Marco Castellano's name, helping families affected by gang violence. It would never be enough, but it was something. I testified against my family in court, bringing down the entire Moretti operation. I served 18 months in prison for Marco's murder and walked out a free man, at least legally. On the anniversary of his death, I visited Marco's grave. Someone had left fresh flowers. She was there. Isabella. We stared at each other across the cemetery, 5 years of pain and love and betrayal between us. I don't forgive you, she said finally. I know. I probably never will. I know. She turned to leave, then stopped. But my brother believed in second chances. So maybe someday I can try. It wasn't absolution. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was something. A crack of light in the darkness. I'll wait, I called after her. However long it takes, Isabella. I'll wait. She didn't turn around, but I saw her shoulders shake. Then she was gone, disappearing among the headstones. I knelt at Marco's grave and whispered the same words I'd whispered every day for 5 years, I'm sorry. The Mafia boss had fallen for his victim's sister. He'd loved her, lost her, and destroyed them both. But maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for redemption. Even if it took a lifetime. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Comment below, would you ever forgive someone who hurt your family? Let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.